In a bombshell statement on Fox News, President Donald Trump bluntly declared that the United States might shift its strategy from sea-based operations to land-based offensives targeting drug cartels. He emphasized, "We're going to start hitting on land against the cartels. These organizations are running Mexico." With that, President Trump hinted that strikes could take place in Mexico, while not ruling out the possibility of expanding to Venezuela or Colombia. This marks an unprecedented escalation in the war on drugs, taking the fight to a whole new level. These operations could involve deploying ground troops in the field, similar to what's happened in Venezuela before, or carrying out precision airstrikes to take out the leadership of criminal organizations, cutting off the head of the snake before pulling back, while pressuring Mexico to handle its own mess. President Trump seems to be sending a clear message to Mexico: take real action instead of just talking. We need to see concrete moves from your side. It looks like this strategy isn't just empty talk. According to the latest data, drug smuggling by sea has dropped by a staggering 97%, so shifting focus to land targets makes logical sense. Around the same time, the United States Coast Guard seized 2 oil tankers linked to Venezuela over the past 2 days in the Caribbean. The ship Olena was captured last night, while the Bella 1 was nabbed a day earlier. Notably, the Bella 1 had been disguised by Venezuela with a painted Russian flag and registered on a shady online database to pose as a Russian vessel, though it's still owned by Venezuela. These moves are tightening the financial noose on drug smuggling by sea, and pivoting to land operations feels like the next logical step. This isn't just a simple threat, it's a continuation of Operation Southern Spear, which is being rolled out with full force and resources ready to go. The U.S. government seems to be leveraging every asset at its disposal to get the job done, not leaving this issue half-finished. Things are also heating up with Colombian President Gustavo Petro, who once defended Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and urged the U.S. to stay out, but now appears to be distancing himself from Maduro. Under pressure from the U.S., Petro might cooperate with Washington in tackling cocaine smuggling networks. This could legitimize Petro's standing, even though he hasn't taken significant action against criminal organizations in Colombia so far. However, operations in Mexico are a completely different story, carrying much graver implications. Crossing the border uninvited to directly strike at the heart of drug cartels, where fentanyl is produced, would be an unprecedented move. Mexico is currently seen as the heart of major cartels, and if these groups keep treating the country as their personal playground, the flood of fentanyl into the U.S. will remain unstoppable. According to statistics, over 70,000 deaths were caused by fentanyl in the U.S. last year alone. This issue doesn't just involve Mexico, it extends to Venezuela, Colombia, and even possibly the Canadian border. The chaos at the borders is impacting every city in the U.S., with rising crime and instability, while the losses from fentanyl are simply unacceptable. Geopolitically, if the U.S. launches land strikes in Mexico, it'll open up a Pandora's box of consequences. We've got to recognize that cartels aren't just smugglers anymore, they've become paramilitary forces, almost like a shadow government in Mexico. Take the Sinaloa cartel, led by Ismael El Mayo Zambada, who's been evading authorities since the 1980s by bribing and securing protection across Mexico. Or the Jalisco New Generation cartel, CJNG, run by Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera, a former cop turned drug lord. CJNG has turned Michoacan into an extortion racket, raking in billions of dollars annually just from avocado farmers while laundering money through these operations. These groups trace their roots back to the 1980s when Mexico's PRI party struck deals with Colombian cocaine traffickers, taking bribes to let drugs flow north while pocketing the profits. It's a familiar script, and even today, cartels use the same tactics to infiltrate everything from elections to the military. The arrest of Mexico's former defense minister Salvador Cienfuegos in 2020 for taking bribes from the Sinaloa cartel, or rumors of CJNG rigging elections in Oaxaca in 2022, show just how deeply they've penetrated the government. Under President Claudia Sheinbaum, who took office in October 2024 with her hugs not bullets policy, not much has changed. Even though she's deployed troops like sending 1,000 soldiers to Michoacan after a mayor was assassinated last month, the effectiveness and loyalty of these forces remain questionable. Are they truly serving the government or just taking bribes from cartels? Murder rates in Mexico are still above 30,000 per year, and this is exactly why President Trump publicly criticized that cartels are running Mexico, because clearly, they wield power far beyond the legitimate government. The new U.S. strategy, dubbed the Trump Doctrine, was reinforced after the arrest of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on January 3, 2026, for drug-related charges. A striking revelation is that a secret directive from August 2025 classified cartels as drug terrorists, granting the U.S. military authority to execute precision strikes under Title 10, even in Mexico if the country fails to act. This means Mexico is being viewed as a haven for drug terrorism, and all boundaries could be crossed. Cartels have also adopted hybrid warfare tactics, like using drones for surveillance since 2023, even sending members to Ukraine to learn techniques. They steal fuel on a scale that costs Mexico's economy between $3 and $5 billion annually, while running migrant smuggling networks to fund fentanyl labs. On the military hardware front for potential land operations in Mexico, the U.S. has a multi-layered defense system combining air power and ground forces. First up are unmanned systems like the MQ-9 Reaper, the workhorse of the U.S. military. Specializing in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR. The MQ-9 can carry 9 to 10 Hellfire missiles, reach altitudes of nearly 29,500 feet, operate continuously for 28 hours with a wingspan of 66 feet, and carry a payload of about 3,750 pounds. Its Honeywell TPE 33110 engine delivers 900 horsepower, with a cruising speed of around 230 miles per hour, consuming 96 gallons of fuel per hour. This system conducted over 80% of ship strikes in Operation Southern Spear last year, monitoring cartel routes off Mexico's coast. Additionally, the RQ-4C Triton, an upgraded version of the MQ-9, is deployed for scanning hotspots. Supporting these drones are 5th-generation F-35 Lightning II fighters by Lockheed Martin, stationed in the Caribbean for rapid intercepts. The F-35 has a wingspan of 43 feet, a Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine, providing 43,000 pounds of thrust, reaching speeds of Mach 1.6, about 1,200 miles per hour, and a combat range of 680 miles on internal fuel. For close air support in the Sierra Madre Mountains, the AC-130J gunship variant, based on the C-130 Hercules, is equipped with a 105mm and 30mm cannon, powered by Allison T-56A, 1.5 engines totaling 13,800 horsepower, with a speed of 300 miles per hour and a range of 3,000 miles. These can launch from bases in Arizona, conduct missions in Mexico, and return within a day. Also, Boeing's P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, operational since late 2025, with a top speed of 560 miles per hour and a range of 5,150 miles, gathers intel on cartel ships and labs. All these assets are linked to ground forces via the Aegis system and Link 16, enabling real-time data sharing with Delta Force units using MH-60 Blackhawk helicopters for raids. A hypothetical land operation in Mexico could unfold in Sinaloa's Golden Triangle, a jungle area in the Sierra Madre where cartels run fentanyl labs. In this scenario, late in January, intel from a P-8 Poseidon identifies a super lab producing 220 pounds of fentanyl daily in a remote valley near Baratu. Chemical precursors are moved through Mazatlan port via light aircraft or trucks, guarded by 20 gunmen. A Reaper drone from Creech Air Force Base in Nevada, 1,365 miles from the target, flies at 25,000 feet, using synthetic aperture radar and high-resolution imaging to detect heat from labs. Simultaneously, an EA-18G Growler from the USS Ford in the Caribbean jams cartel or even Mexican government air defenses if they're protecting criminals. The operation's first phase would involve Hellfire missile strikes from the MQ-9, targeting convoys and labs from 11 miles away, guided by GPS. Next, F-35s would engage with 500-pound guided bombs, destroying drug trucks on the road. Then, depending on the situation, Delta Force teams could be deployed via MH-60 Blackhawks from Texas to handle high-value targets. Even if Mexico's government under Sheinbaum strongly objects, the U.S. message is crystal clear. We don't need permission anymore. We're stopping the fentanyl flow. So, will the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Delta Force actually be deployed for land strikes in Mexico? Or is this just a call for Mexico to act and root out corruption? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment below and stay tuned for updates in our next posts.